Hello, Tim here, and welcome to a slightly different video than my normal tutorials. This is a compilation of attendee paintings from my last online watercolor workshop from March 2020. So what happens is that normally every couple of months or so, I organize an online paint-along session. I choose the subject and we all, in watercolor, paint that scene. And then afterwards, some people paint along during the session, live, so to speak, and there's plenty of questions and answers during the session. Others prefer to wait till afterwards and paint in their own time. So what's happened here is a number of the attendees have submitted their paintings to me. I've photographed their painting. And here I'd love to share with you all of the different interpretations of the scene. And the scene was or is St Emilion in France, a big center of the wine sector in France, a World Heritage Site. And this is the bottom of town. I think it made a good subject from a watercolor point of view, because from a composition perspective, it's got good elements here. Bit of a focal point, maybe these people, a light figure on a dark background. Maybe the sort of snaking of vehicles is quite pleasing, and then that white van at the end, the white van against a darker background. Figures in the dark, in the shadows there against a lighter background. So it's got a bit of everything. Buildings, cars, people, ranges of values, darks and lights, and as I say, from a composition point of view, quite good to start with. We don't need to use too much imagination to change too many things around to make a pleasing composition. So if I start off with my meager effort, so this was mine done live during the session back on March the 1st. And I always like to critique myself. I think it's always a good idea to just take a little bit of time once you've done a painting, just to, your inner voice is sort of telling you what you did well, and maybe what you could do a bit better next time if you did something similar. On the whole, I'm quite pleased with it. I kept true to the scene. Maybe I sort of narrowed the street a little bit at the background, but we can change some minor details. Trying to get in a bit of light hitting the front of this building here. I included the right-hand side, the pizzeria cafe there. I sort of truncated that. The other thing is, from a dimensions point of view, the source photo was sort of widescreen, 16 by 9. The paper the size I prefer to paint on is more a sort of 4 by 3. So almost squarish in format. So I cut off the right, cropped the left, and just kept true to the central part of the scene. But I got the white figure there in front of a dark background, got in the white van, got these snaking column of cars. I think one thing a couple of things I might have changed is, first of all, these wheels are a little bit too much in your face, maybe a bit too overdone. I sometimes prefer wheels of cars to be understated, quite briefly painted. And this menu here, I mean, if that was this A board, maybe if that was slightly lighter, that'd be a little bit more effective. But anyway, that's mine. So going through the attendees in no particular order. So this is Ravi. Ravi, great painting. So you've got a nice row of cars there. Good composition. You've got 4 figures. That's great. You've got the 2 figures in the middle. Yeah, nice Let me just see if I can zoom just a little bit. Nice figures, light figures against a darker background. Great job on that car. That's a lovely car. Perhaps this figure is a little bit too light against the dark background. So perhaps with the shadow, we might have lost a little bit of the legs. And perhaps this left-hand side here, Ravi, could be a little bit darker. Other than that, great painting. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this is Betty. Yeah, Betty, you kept a sort of limited palette, shall I say, almost like sort of browns and creams in a way, which is quite effective actually. That's quite nice. Very soft edges that you've managed to get in there. Perhaps from a composition point of view, a little bit too wider straight here. We could have maybe made the straight a little bit narrower and got some things in. And watch the size of the cars as well. So perhaps some of these cars could be a little bit larger, and perhaps some of the windscreens not so light compared to the body of the car, but good figure work. The other thing I would say, and it's quite a common thing, and sometimes I do it myself, this sort of white halo around the figures, try and lose that so that maybe you can get away with it, those figures in the sun, in the middle of the street. But these are in the shadows. They could be a little bit bigger as well from a perspective point of view. So bigger figures here, bigger cars, and lose that white shadow. But lovely painting, Betty. I like the colour palette, the choice of colours you've got there. Right, Janet C. What vibrant colours, Janet. Beautiful. And that car is fantastic. It's certainly got a feeling of a warm glow to the scene and bright sunlight coming down. Great figures. I especially like that figure there. I presume it's a lady in some sort of white outfit. Yeah, very nice. Good figures in the shadows. Yeah, excellent figures. Can't fault it at all. Perhaps the rooftop here could be a little bit more. Maybe it's a little bit too red. It looks like a bit like it's sort of like a strawberry, the skin of a strawberry. So I'd lose those white dots there, a bit too sort of uniform. But other than that, it's a great sense of colours and a lovely sense of light hitting some of the cars. And that car is superb there. Good job, Janet. Right, Bob R. So Bob's gone for a slightly different technique. I should say on technique, nobody needs to copy me. You do your own thing. You know your own style, whether it's, in this example, it's a little bit of sort of almost pen and wash, going realistic or impressionistic. It's entirely up to you. But this is Bob's style, and it's very effective. You've certainly captured the scene of a small French town. Perhaps we could have got in a few more values. Watch the shadows, a little bit too static, I think, Bob, with the dark edge around a sort of dark line around the edge of the shadows, and watch a little bit of overworking of the shadow as well. But lovely figures, parent and child there. You've got a good sense of perspective of the scene, and a nice sort of style to it as well. That's sort of almost like a pen and wash, but try and get in more values and the light for a bit more impact on the scene. Right, lovely, Bob. Well done. Okay, Sue. And so, nice and loose, very efficient very economic with the brush marks and the washes. Look at that lovely granulation on the shady part of that wall and up here on the left-hand side. Beautiful. Composition-wise, great. Yeah, you kept true to the scene. Nice and loose on the right-hand side. Yeah, it's quite effective. Sort of lighter areas for some of those figures lurking in the cafe, sat down on tables, and you use a little bit of white just to indicate maybe the tops of some tables. very nice. I just watched maybe these shadows on the left-hand side. They look a little bit overdone. Maybe just don't bother doing these dry brush marks. Go in with a darker colour, a fully loaded mop brush, just as you did. You did it well here. I mean, that area there, that area there, if that was applied on these shadows here, I think it'd be fresher looking. Right, thank you very much. Manal, I hope I pronounced your name okay. Oh, fantastic range of values in this one. Look at the darks and the lights. Great contrast, very strong values. Bold brush marks in the shadows here. Composition wise, yeah, very good. Good job on the perspective as well. I think on mine, I did the white van maybe a little bit too large, but yours is just right, Manal. Yes, great job. And also a bit of glow hitting this building. The light was coming from the left, so it's coming down to the street, bouncing back. Really good. Yeah, it's really nice. A nice style to it. Maybe just some of these figures we might just lose a little bit some of the highlighted area around them. Particularly that figure that maybe on the right hand side, Manal, where that's on the sort of shady part. Perhaps we could have lost a little bit there, but yeah, lovely painting, beautiful, nice and loose, not overworked anywhere. Good range of brush marks as well. Yeah, great one, Manal. Right, Alexei, great one. Oh, lovely. Nice range of sort of edges, soft edges, hard edges. We've got hard edge down here, soft edges in the shadows, bit of softness going on here. Very loosely done, not overworked at all. Good use of watercolor, and we can sense also a feeling of the roughness of the paper. You've got good quality paper there, Alexei. So yeah, lovely one. Nice granulation. Ranges of warms and cools. Cars are very nice. You've gone for a sort of dark feeling of those cars going up the road, and you haven't bothered with that white van at the end, which I think is okay. I mean, the thing with cars, you can change around. You don't need to keep true to the scene. You can mix them around. You kept them sort of. You kept them similar to the photograph on the cars on the right hand side. I love these two cars. They're very well done. Congratulations, Alexei. Right, Lefteris. Okay, so again, nice sense of bright sunlight. I'm not sure about the sky. It looks a little bit too like the same value as the street. Maybe if that was a much lighter, it would appear a little bit brighter. But having said that, everything else looks pretty good. Watch the perspective as well. So maybe this roof Lefteris could be a little bit steeper, possibly, because we've got the lower street down there. Everything else, though, beautiful. Good figures. Yeah, this figure here, I can sense a little bit of the face coming through. That's a lovely figure, that's just what watercolor does. These little marks. So you went in with a lighter wash and dropped something dark in, and it creates those little minor blooms. Good shadows as well. Bit of a nice, bold, confident dry brush mark there. Yeah, lovely. Left arrow, it's beautiful. So this is Mary. So I like the soft edge that you've got around the picture. It's sort of got a nice style. It automatically draws you into the picture because it's sort of out of focus around the perimeter of the painting, and immediately we're drawn into the scene. Very effective. So you've actually made a play on the foreground. So it's almost like you've shifted things up in the composition, and it works well. Yeah, nice one. I like the colours on the left-hand side as well. Marry those reds and yellows and a little bit cool, and a nice transition into the shadows going across as well. Right, who's next? Sally P. Oh, so very, very precise edges that you've got in this one. A lovely, sharp, crisp, straight, vertical lines. I can see repeated in many places in the scene. Composition very good. Certainly a loose. You've really gone quite loose on this one. That's beautiful. And the cars are very good. I particularly like that car there. And the figure, light figure against the darker background. These two figures are superb in the shadows. I really like those. Just sort of connecting very effectively into the shadows. Yeah, nice and loose, good range of values, not overworked in any way. Lovely, Sally, well done. Engin, beautiful. So you've gone for a different style. You've sneaked in some birds there, Engin, well done. Sometimes with birds, watch that they're all not too uniform and similar. Maybe just imagine a group of birds flying in the sky. There'd be different shapes to them, and sometimes you get the V shape, maybe an upside down V, if you see what I mean. But lovely watercolor, not overworked in a way. Watch the shadows. Don't get too don't go sort of overworked too much, and also again watch the halo around these figures, Engin. And that car there, this car here, superb. Brilliant car. But this car, like mine, Engin, my wheels were a little bit too overdone, and maybe they're a bit too bright here. And this wheel should be a little bit larger than that one. But apart from that, really nice Engin, nice and loose. I love this. This sort of the brush marks you got over here are very indicative of a sort of typical French building with that grey crumbling wall there, and maybe some greys and warmer tones. Lovely, and I like the wall lights as well. These lanterns. Yeah, lovely one, Engin. Thank you very much indeed. Jim L. Okay, so I like the dots of blue that you've got in there. So blue there. Bits of, it looks like a sort of cerulean blue or something like that, and dry brush marks. And then we've got a bit of blue on the figure, blues on the windscreen, this blue car, of course. Yeah, it's nice. Composition wise, so you've got a lot going on the right hand side, but thankfully, because you've got a little bit of detail on this left hand building, you pull it off. There's a nice balance to the composition, and this sort of column of foliage down the left hand side as well. Softer background, lovely roof there. You certainly get the feeling of the terracotta tiles and the edge of the roof, and that glow of the right hand side. Yeah, lovely one, Jim. Thank you. Right, Kenny J. So it's fairly sort of soft in colours is my first impression. I like the way that you've done the cars here. You've spent a lot of time, you put a lot of effort into those cars, and you pulled it off. They look really nice. There's a good sort of style about them, the way that you've done the windscreen. Sometimes when people do windscreens, they either make them too small or too large, or perhaps the top of the car it's too big, so it just doesn't look right. But yours is yeah, those cars are beautiful, and this one especially. It's a lovely car. Good figure work also. Nothing is overworked. I'm not sure what quality paints you're using, but maybe these shadows here look a little bit as if they got too much sort of the sort of gum arabic in paints, a little bit too sort of gluey in some respect. I love this shadow over here. That's beautiful, Kenny. And the side of the pizzeria as well. Yeah, lovely. Great figure work. Superb cars. Well done. Nice brief way of doing the figures in the cafe also. Right, Katrin. Wow, it's certainly got some impact, this one. Yes, certainly. The darks that you've got in, bit of splattering I can see creeping in there. I like the way that you've done this middle building, and the underlying wash was a sort of yellow ochre, quite light here on the left-hand side. Then you've got in really confidently with some bold brush marks, some vertical brush marks there. Look at that granulation as well. Yeah, beautiful. Perhaps this card doesn't look too right for me. A bit like a couple of was it Engins where this wheel was maybe that wheel needs to be further back, needs to be sort of more kind of there in this car possibly, and a little bit larger compared to the other one. But figures, very nice indeed. Just watch your cars out, but a great impact to the painting. Katrin, well done. Jerry, yeah, beautiful, very precise. You've taken a lot of trouble over the cars. They look really nice. I like also the gap. Not sure if that was in the source photo, but a nice sort of gap between this lead car and the cars in the distance. Yeah, those cars are superb. Figures, very nice as well. Good sense of movement. This figure here, this right-hand figure looks like it's talking to this figure. Yeah, nice one. It's got a nice start. And maybe from a composition point of view, we've lost a little bit of the top of this building here, but it doesn't matter too much. You've got in the main elements there. Perhaps perspective, just a minor thing. Perhaps this building just could go down a little bit on the left-hand side, and perhaps on the right-hand side. That sort of looks all right. That line there. Yeah, you're pretty much there. It's a beautiful painting. And yeah, very good job on the cars, Jerry. Beautiful. Well, I especially like that one there. It's a great car. I think with cars, when you look at them, you've got to think, well, could that car actually move without something dropping off or it failing after a meter or so? But yeah, they're very nice. Good work on the vehicles. Right, well done, Jerry. And Volga. Okay. Very nice. Certainly got the impression of the scene. You've stretched out that street, I think, a little bit, but it works. I think you've done a little bit of lifting off as well. Again, it works. I think when you put down the shadows, you might have just lifted off a little bit, perhaps also in the background there. You're trying to get that lighter. I can see you trying to get that lighter value. I love the sky. Great job on the sky, Volga. Little bits of white showing through. You've sneaked in a few birds there as well. Good job on the figures. Good figure work. Not so sure about this near car. That car good. Not sure about this one. This looks quite a sporty number, that one. Oh, and you've done much better than me on the menu. It's what I was saying earlier on. A lighter, that A board there, lighter, menu against the darker background. Looks better. Yeah, nice one, Volga. Susanna L. Okay. Yep, nice. Not overworked at all. Great sky. The washes that you've got on the building. Perhaps you could have sneaked in a bit more light coming into the scene. So down here, the bottom of the street, you've got it sort of going along the street, but maybe the lower part of the building, and the front of this building as well, just to get a bit more of impact of the sort of light and shade. Love the figures. Perhaps that face there of this middle figure could be a little bit larger, tiny bit larger perhaps, not as large as that. And the cars, yeah, the cars are right. I was going to say perhaps this one you might have overdone it a bit, but it's all right. Wheels are very effective. You've got red like me with that menu. I kicked myself when I did. I wish I'd gone a little bit lighter. Yeah, very nice and loose. I like also this little bit of blooming, this sort of cauliflower appearing there. Yeah, lovely one. Nice and loose, not overworked at all. Great figures there as well, Susanna. Well done. Dosia. So, lovely scene. Again, you've sort of stretched out the street a little bit, but it's okay. Watch the little bit of light hitting the sides of some of these objects. Perhaps you could do more connecting things together. So doing it all in one. So this building here comes down into the cars. So you sort of almost you don't perceive the left-hand edge of those cars there. That would be a little bit more effective. But great scene. Also the poles of the umbrellas, perhaps there could be some darker at the tops of the poles because they're sort of underneath the canopy, catching a little bit of shade. That would be a little bit more effective. Yeah, lovely, Dosia. Great figures. There's nice figures there in the middle. And from a perspective point of view, these figures are a bit larger. Watch the size of heads. Don't make them too large. Right. Thanks, Dosia. Lovely painting. And David L. So, again, you've done your own style. Brilliant. So, very loose. With a sort of dark, you've emphasized some of the key elements, some of the key lines with a darker, sort of smaller brush, some dry brush marks. Very effective. Watch your figures. Perhaps the figures, spend a little bit more time doing the figures. The cars are brilliant. I like that car there, and this car as well. Yes, so perhaps the gaps between these could have been a little bit narrower as well. And the base of the figures in the shadows, just connect them a bit more. Don't have that white line there. Sometimes I do it myself. When I have figures in the shade, they don't look right. They look as if they're been slapped on top of the shadows, rather than sort of all sort of homogeneous and part of one. Yeah, so watch that lighter area around those figures. It could have been a little bit darker, and just lose these sort of white bits around the figures. Yeah, lovely one, David. Particularly like your style, and that tree on the left-hand side. Look at that, it's beautiful. The way that you've got those different layers, certainly very effective foliage. And the perspective is really good as well. You've got it all right. You've certainly got a feeling of you're coming down the streets here, slight gradient, and then you're going uphill there. Yeah, nice one, David. Well done. Gary M. So, lovely palette, beautiful. The blues and the reds that you've got in that blue there, the blue of this car, the golden glow on the right-hand side of this building. Great figure work, Gary. I recognize your figures anywhere, and they've got a certain style about them. Perspective is spot on. Very good job. Nothing too overworked as well. But yeah, the colours for me stand out. These light blues. I think there was a slight my microphone suddenly stopped working. But yeah, what I was saying was great painting, very loose, nice style, Gary, and good range of the cools and warms to it as well. Right, Hilary M. Not sure what size this is, but if I can see what's going on here, good composition, good job on the perspective, that's right. You've gone for a green car there. Well done on you, changing the colours of cars, exactly right. Perhaps that car is just a little bit too small compared to the size of this one and this one. So if it was maybe moved, comes a little bit further forward, slightly larger, that would be more effective. Great figures in the shadows as well. That light figure with a shoulder strap or something like that, carrying a bag. Very nice. Yeah, lovely, Hilary. Well done. Linda D. So, great range in values. You've gone for that sort of, a number of you have gone for this sort of darker sky. I don't know whether mine was that dark, but yeah, it works. Background values, very simply done. I love the sort of bleeding of that blue into the, you've sneaked in quite a few colours there. It's like a yellow, and then it goes sort of maybe more like an alizarin maybe. Not sure about that line there. So I think the back of the street was almost sort of horizontal in a way, and then you've got the top of the buildings going up like that. But you've gone your dab, but it's all right. I mean, maybe a local resident might pick you up on that, but it's sort of, you certainly got the feeling of going up the hill towards the background. Great figures. Perhaps where the figures don't have the arms out too wide, so lose the gap between maybe the arms and the torso. And that car, very nice. But this car, yeah, again, the back wheel could be a little bit larger and lose some of the white on the right hand side. Everything else so superb. I love the way that you've got in the softness, Linda, of some of these colours. Look at that beautiful warmth there, and then transferring into a cool blue, and then this sort of a warm grey, and that right hand side there is really nice. Well done. Maria H. So now Maria, what you need to do is practice your maybe the initial drawing a little bit more. I love the way that you've applied the colour. Great sky, and the different colours that you've sneaked into the cars. A red car and a blue car. But certainly practice your drawing. Get your drawing right before committing to painting with the perspective, and getting the cars right. Again, the back wheel. Yeah, the back wheels seem to be an issue with a lot of people, being a little bit too small. And these figures, so that figure's all right, but these figures lose this lightness around. So go quite dark here, connect these two figures in. Perhaps the figures could be just a little bit larger. But well done, Maria. And I love the sky. And also this building on the right hand side. That is really nice, exceptional. The different sort of this is what watercolor does. This is the fascination of watercolor, the different effects that you get in there. Very nice indeed. Well done. Let's just see if I can zoom in. Next up, Jensen. Again, Jensen, you've got a certain style about it, almost like you've applied different layers to your painting and you've let one dry and then you've gone over lots of sort of very weak layers, which are very effective. Drawing wise, lovely. I like the fact that some of the pencil lines show through. That's very pleasing. Great job on the sky. Your drawing is superb. Great angle of great handling of perspective. Figures are nice also. Group of 3 figures. Perhaps we could have gone a little bit lighter on some of these figures just to have a bit more of an impact. So perhaps that figure there in the middle, that could have been light on a darker background, but just my own opinion. That I like the effect of the watercolor here, the way that you've got a bit of blooms appearing and dry brush marks, different combination of brush marks. Yeah, very nice, Jensen. Well done. Sandy, bright scene, golden colours. Watch the again, it's the initial drawing. Just watch the size of the figures. Perhaps, well, those 2 figures there are brilliant. I particularly like the lady walking towards us. Good sense of movement. But yeah, just watch the figures. Don't make them their head a bit too large there. And the drawing of the car as well with those wheels. Just watch that. Maybe it looks like it's too sort of squat. Stretch it out a bit more, particularly with these cars going up the street as well. But apart from that, great sense of feeling of light, Sandy. Great job. I particularly like those 2 figures in the middle. Well done. Heather B, lovely. So good range of values. Nice and dark in the background. Lighter van there. These cars very loosely done. I like these 2 vehicles as well. Perhaps these figures could be a little bit larger, especially these 2 here. Just a good bit larger. Yeah, I think all the figures could have been a little bit bigger, but lovely loose effect that you've got with your brush marks, the foliage, very well. Nice, it's a nice green there that you've got in that one, Heather. Not overworked on the shadows as well. And I like, again, a lot of people have got in very effective painting of the right-hand building, the wall that's facing us. That's lovely. Perhaps this canopy doesn't look too correct. Perhaps it could be stretched out a bit more, and we wouldn't see. Well, perhaps that leading edge you might just see a little bit of the top, a little bit of the bottom, but maybe lose a little bit of the shadow, the top part of that pole. Lovely, good sense of light. Well done, Heather. Right, next one, Doris. Yeah, so quite blue with this one. Aren't you? Good sort of domination of the blue theme on this, and it works really well. Good sense of light. Yes, you've gone for more of a sort of squarish dimensions, and that works really well. If you imagine this was framed, it would be sort of, well, I guess you'd be losing that. We come right down the bottom, we come across there, and then up. Yeah, it will work really well. Watch the light, the little bits of light marks creeping into the darker shady areas, so some of the areas here. But good job on the figures, they're all the right size, all in harmony with each other. This car, it's a difficult car to pull off. It was at a slight angle. We're almost looking down on it as well. Yes, it's not quite right maybe with that side windscreen. So perhaps the windscreen, certainly on the back, if I do this back one, perhaps it would sort of go right over to the edge. So make it a little bit wider. But lovely, Doris. Nice. You've got a lovely domination of the blues there. I really like it. Very effective. Yeah, well done, Doris. Thanks very much indeed. Ronald. So, yeah, good combination of warms and cools. Very loosely done. Again, I watch these whiter areas creeping in, connect things a bit more. So that this white bit underneath the A board sign, lose that. Don't overwork the shadows too much. But these figures are fantastic. I like these two here in the shade, connecting with the shadow going across the street. Good range of colours, not too overworked, but yeah, but just watch the whiter areas sneaking in there. Right, Agnes, lovely, very soft. Now, from a perspective point of view, everything is sort of all right, apart from over here on the right-hand side. So this car, if that car was okay, then maybe this building comes all the way down here, almost to the top of the car, and then we kind of go up a little bit like that, and then the canopy needs to be something like that. So you get a sense of the perspective of the scene, something like that. So just watch the perspective of the initial drawing. I like the figures. Yeah, particularly like that figure. That's you've got the pose on that. Beautiful, Agnes. Really nice. Yeah, very nice. But just watch with the perspective there, I would say, on that one, and also try and get in a little bit more light on the front of that building. Just a bit more. Apart from that, brilliant. Well done, Agnes. John D. Yes, John, you've got a certain style about it. You've a lot of brush marks. That's your style. Perhaps in places just a little bit overdone. Almost in a way, when you're painting, try not to go too thick with the paint and applying lots of layers on top of each other. You lose a little bit of the freshness of it. But the drawing is superb. I mean, that's your elements, the perspective as well. Really nice. I mean, the left-hand edge, the middle buildings, these right-hand buildings as well, the cars, everything's in proportion, great figure, but just overdone a little bit on some of the painting. And the danger then is you might lose some of the light. You've got a bit of light coming in, so you've got a bit of light here and a bit of light there, but the rest of the scene has lost that freshness because you might have just tried a little bit too hard on that one, John. So just watch that. Right, Hyun. Yeah, I'm particularly drawn to, I don't know about you, but I'm drawn to this area here. That soft glow immediately coming towards us. So your initial drawing, brilliant. But yes, I keep coming to that, and also I just lose that drawing. Also, this left-hand edge as well, nice and soft, not too overworked, bit of splattering going on, dry brush marks. Great figures, superb figures. Not sure about this car here. It looks a little bit too small. All the other cars and vehicles, brilliant, but this one and the wheels as well, like with me, maybe that was a little bit bigger. That would look better. Everything else though, fantastic. Well done. Bogdan, right, another sort of bluish theme to this. Some reds creeping in as well. Perhaps the roof just a little bit too red. Drawing wise, perspective wise, you've got everything looking good. The left hand edge there. Watch a little bit of overworking. I'm not sure what size brush you're using. Perhaps if you tried a bigger brush, Bogdan, a bigger brush with a smaller point, see if that would be more effective in sort of losing some of the brush marks you got, say, on that car there. I love this figure here. This figure here, mother and child. Yeah, great feeling of movement, walking towards these figures as well. Yeah, well done, Bogdan. Just watch the reds and some of these little bits of white appearing in the bodies of the cars. I would lose some of that. Just paint over them, basically. Yeah, well done, Bogdan. Well done. Just see if I can go into this again. Where were we? Bogdan, let's see. Tom. So Tom, yeah, good drawing. Like the foliage down the left, good range of values. You've got this figure sort of walking right to left. Great figures, good cars as well. That car is superb. Softness of the background, not too many hard edges in this, a lot of soft edges, very blue. I would make the transition. I would lose this white edge here, like a few other people done. Lose that white vertical line there, because merge in the foliage with this darker building on the left, and certainly down at the base as well. But great figures, lovely cars. Well done, Tom. Barry M. Great one. Very precisely drawn. Perspective is very good. You're almost connecting, which is what I was trying to do with my composition, this sort of S shape of the cars. So in the background van you come down and then you come up this right hand side. Yeah, your cars are really good. Perhaps the wheels here are a little bit too overdone and too close together, but everything else really nice. Good figure work. These are nice figures here as well. Perhaps this left-hand side could be a bit darker. Barry, this left-hand building here, coming down, so we lose that hard edge of the shadows. So the transition is a little bit softer. Everything else really nice, Barry. It's very nice paint. I love the highlight for me are your cars, and that very precisely you're written in that pizzeria sign. Yeah, well done. Right, John Q. So you've gone in. Okay, so you changed the composition a bit. You've done away with those cars on the right hand side. It works. So good figures. It's painting a story. These two figures are talking to each other. A family group there. 4 figures on the left hand side. Two in the distance as well. Yeah, it's got a nice composition, a nice balance of figures. For me, maybe these shadows are going in the wrong direction and lose some of the lightness within the shadows as well. So that shadow there is correct. So these shadows would be more coming down at that sort of angle. All right. So all of this would be in the shade. Rather, we would lose this. We would lose that bit there. So definitely the shadows would be going more in. Oops. Definitely the shadows would be going more in this kind of direction. All right. Well done, John. Good choice of figures and composition, losing those cars on the right-hand side. Right, Meg. Very soft. Nice composition. Perhaps his car's a little bit too light. So being in the dark, we might make them a little bit, being in the shadows, we might make them a little bit darker. Drawing wise, yeah, you're pretty much there with the perspective. It was a tricky scene to do. So you've not put in the building behind the this middle building. There's a background building. It doesn't matter. Not overworked at all. I love the foliage. Your effect of the foliage here. This strong vertical. Great figures as well. Lovely figures. Beautiful cars. Softness over on the right hand side. Yeah, well done, Meg. Karen M. Right, so drawing wise, so your building on the right hand side is a little bit shorter, which is all right. We're just going to watch the perspective a little bit. These cars look as if they're a little bit too steep for the road, but they are good cars. I like that car as well. This car, a little bit too small compared to this one. I love this car here. That's beautiful. The way that you've done the headlights and the front grille. Figures, yeah, very nice. Perhaps they could have got a bit more contrast with some of those figures. So darker figures against a lighter background. Maybe that figure could have been completely white. We sort of almost lose them. They're similar values to what's behind. Watercolor techniques, great sky, beautiful sky, and the building on the right hand side here, that's lovely. The effect that you've got of the almost like a yellow ochre and a little bit of a purplish blue on that one. Yeah, very nice. Well done, Karen. Mike G. So nice and loose, confident brush marks. Certainly got the feeling of light. Particularly what catches my eye in this one is that slither of light on the top of the pizzeria. I don't know why, but my eye keeps going there. Very nicely done. Just watch the overworking of some of the shadows. It looks like you might have gone over the shadows maybe a couple of times. Perhaps you went in a bit light first of all, then went in a bit darker. But the street, very nice, very nicely painted. Watch this white line on the right hand side as well. Yeah, very nice. Well done. Well done, Mike. So Heidi, this has got a nice style about it. I quite like the effect that you've got with the watercolor, bit of splattering, lovely granulation. Look at the right hand side of that building there. For me, I think the figures could be maybe the head's a little bit too small on this, but I like everything else. The use of watercolor, soft edges as well. Shadows you've done really well. Also, this left-hand foliage, Heidi, brilliant. Very precisely drawn and painted. Middle building there. Perhaps some of these cars could be a little bit darker because they're in the shadows there. But these cars over here, very, very well done. I particularly like the the effect of the granulation on the buildings also, this top right hand corner. Everyone's done really well on that building on the right hand side. Right, Jeff. So nice softness. These are brilliant figures, Jeff, and very realistic rendition of these French buildings. You've got nice attention to detail. You've got restaurant, 1899, and I think there's maybe a museum or something in the background there. Yeah, very. I love these figures. These figures are brilliant. You know, different sizes of figures. So a slightly more portly figure, a thinner figure. That figure there in the middle, brilliant. Well done. Maybe this car here, the windows are a little bit too tall. There should be, yeah, those windows are a bit too tall. And this one as well. The others, they're all right. Going up the hill. But beautiful buildings. And the foliage as well. Nice one, Jeff. Well done. Ching. Very soft. Good drawing. I love this middle area here. So you haven't gone in for the sort of yellows and oranges. You've gone more for sort of greenish hue to those buildings, which really works. But it's all about the values. And you've got that lightness there, where the sun was coming down, bouncing against the wall, hitting that right hand edge. Very nice. There's good job on the cars as well. This car, not so sure about this one here. Ching, figures, very nice. Good foliage as well. Not too overworked. Yeah, watch the shadows. Try and get some harder edges around some of these, sharper edges around some of these shadows. But everything else, very nice, very nicely done indeed. I particularly like these greens that you've got in there. Yeah, well done. Right, Daniel M. So this is a very nice painting. You've gone for a squarish dimensions. You've certainly given this a lot of thought with the range of values as well. Nice, bold shapes, objects, the way that you've done the cars, it's particularly striking, the silhouetting of these figures. Very effective against the lighter background, and the foliage up the side. That's a nice touch. So yeah, this is absolutely superb. Brilliant painting, Daniel. The values are just right. You've got the feeling of that bright light and the economy of the brush marks as well. The cars are superb. You know, we only see half of this car, but it looks just right. This car in the foreground, the front car overlapping it, brilliant. And a sense of the stonework across the street as well. And then going into a golden glow here. But certainly for me, those two figures silhouetted and this whole foliage going up the left-hand side, and it's not too uniform, and we're sort of we've got a nice sort of composition. We've got that kind of a shape going on, caressing the scene. Yeah, lovely one, Daniel. Beautiful. Beth. Great, Beth. Oh, beautiful. Those figures in the middle are superb. So you've kind of done away with a little bit of, you've cropped the sky a bit so that your sky is just that sort of triangle at the top there in the middle. But it works. Great figures, as I said. Lovely colours. You've got the shadows, just the right value as well. Perhaps this car again, like with some of the other painters, it's just a little bit too narrow, too squat. Stretch it out a bit more. So practice your car work. That car is brilliant. It just goes to show when you draw cars, when you're painting cars, they're a lot easier to do head on or the back of the car. You know, take that car, for example, brilliant, that car, brilliant, but this one just a little bit too narrow. But lovely figures. Beth, well done. Judy S. So maybe your photo is just a little bit out of focus, but we can see what's going on. Great sense of sunlight hitting the scene, particularly this brightness here as well. Fantastic, great figures. In the middle, these two figures having a chat with each other. Watch the direction of these shadows. So these shadows are going that way. These shadows should be more like that, I think. So that's the sort of general direction of those shadows. And yeah, everything else superb. As I say, I like the figures. Good job on the cars. Very nice one, Judy. Thank you very much indeed. Right, Roberto. Beautiful. My eye is immediately drawn to this white car here. That could be a focal point. Perhaps lose some of the lightness in the shadows on the over here. Figures very good. You've kept that light figure in the middle there. These darker figures on the left hand side. This foliage really well done. Just watch. Don't overwork some of the shadows in the foreground. You've got away with it, and you've done a good job in connecting these figures with the shadows as well. Lovely, and I like the effect of the little bit of light on the pizzeria sign. So maybe it's sort of metallic or something like that. Yeah, lovely one, Roberto. Thank you very much, Shannon. So your color theme here is sort of gold. Lots of softness about it as well. Drawing wise, very good. Now the actual street and perspective, these figures could be a little bit larger. So yeah, all the figures could be a little bit larger. Maybe that one, maybe 50% larger, and these about 50% larger. But a lovely feeling of softness. I like the way that you've got in this background building there, that right-hand building as well. The softness of the cars going up the hill. Again, this one on the right-hand side, as with everyone else, was very tricky to do. I had trouble with it. Watch the overworking of the shadows as well. Don't try and overdo it and go over multiple times on it. So just watch the overworking of the watercolor. But lovely drawing. Yeah, nice one, Shannon. Well done. Bronwyn, beautiful. Good composition. I love that figure and that car. And also that little, just attention to detail, that little slither of light going up on the windscreen there. Very effective. Just gives the effect of a bit of sunlight reflecting against that windscreen. Figures, I say, very good. Great colours. Certainly got the feeling of the French buildings, particularly on the right-hand side here. Yeah, it's really nice. I don't know what size this is. I've got the feeling it might be slightly small in size, but very effective. Or maybe watch with the shadows. Maybe watch with the shadows with the tops of the building going slightly like that, if you see what I mean. So there's the gap, and then the next one might go up like that. This one there, that's just right, but watch the others. Well done, Bronwyn. Thank you very much indeed. Rosella, beautiful, nice and soft. Good job on the cars, great figures, all in the right proportion as well. Shadows wise, maybe you could have gone a bit darker with these shadows coming towards the foreground. But that's very nice on that the side of this building here. Good sense of light hitting the front there. I like these figures. Rosella, brilliant. Very, very well done on those figures. And that light one in the middle as well. Perhaps that car with that windscreen, try and make these windscreens almost go from one side to the other rather than the frames of the windows being a little bit too thick. Just watch that. This car here is superb, but that one, maybe the windscreen could have been a little bit wider. So there we are. That's the review of the March paintings. So just to announce the next online paint-along experience, I'm using a slightly different system, slightly different platform for this. I'm using the Crowdcast system. So the more information about the April watercolor workshop, we're going to do a stormy scene similar to this, and more information on the materials to have ready, and the registration details will be in the comments of this video, or you can go to my website timwilmot.com, or thirdly you can go to crowdcast.io, and if you do a search for Tim Wilmot, W-I-L-M-O-T, you should see something like this announcing the next workshop. But thanks very much. Thanks for watching. Catch up with you next time, and I'll be launching a new normal sort of watercolor tutorial, hopefully in a few days' time. Thanks very much indeed.